There is a man in a salvage yard in Duluth, Minnesota, and right now he is standing over a truck frame that snapped in half. Not in a crash. Nobody hit it. The owner was backing out of a driveway, turned the wheel, and heard a sound like a tree falling. The rear half of the frame had rusted through from the inside, and the only thing holding the truck together on the last morning of its life was paint and habit. That man's name is Roy Sundqvist. He is 71 years old. He spent 38 winters keeping road commission plow trucks alive in a county that dumps 400 pounds of salt per lane mile. And he will tell you, if you catch him on a slow afternoon, that the frame under that truck did not have to die. It died because the man who owned it did something in the spring that felt responsible and was actually a slow-motion mistake. And it died because nobody ever told him about the $6 of material that Roy has been brushing into truck frames since Lyndon Johnson was in the Senate. That is what this video is about. Not a product. A method. A method that stops frame rot before it starts and slows the rot you already have for about the price of a sandwich, using something people were quietly doing in 1962 and mostly stopped doing right around the time the car stopped being something you were supposed to keep. But before I show you what to mix and where to put it, I need to tell you what actually killed that frame in Duluth. Because if you understand that, you will never look at your undercarriage the same way again, and you will understand why the fix costs $6 instead of $6,000. Music. Let me start with the number because the number is the whole reason this channel exists. A rusted-out frame is not a repair. On most trucks and a lot of SUVs, the frame is the vehicle. When a shop looks under yours and finds perforation, actual holes, flaking layers, a screwdriver that sinks in where solid steel should be, the estimate you get back is not $200. It is frame replacement, which means pulling the body, the drivetrain, the suspension, and the brake and fuel lines off one frame and hanging them on another. Real quotes for that job run $3,000, $5,000, and on some vehicles past $7,000. And more often than not, the shop will look at that number, look at the age of the truck, and tell you what they are supposed to tell you. It's not worth it. Time for a new one. That sentence, "It's not worth it," is the most expensive sentence in the automotive world, and I want you to notice who benefits from it being true. So hold that in your head. Somewhere between $3,000 and $7,000, or the total loss of an otherwise good vehicle. That is the cost of the problem. The cost of the fix, done Roy's way, done in the fall before the salt trucks come out, is about $6 a year. And the gap between those two numbers is not an accident. It is a business model. I'll show you exactly where it came from, and I'll show you the man who watched it happen. Stay with me, because the part that is going to change how you protect your vehicle isn't the ingredient. It's understanding where rust actually starts. And I promise you, it is not where you think you are looking. Music. Here is the thing almost nobody understands about frame rot, and it is the thing that makes the expensive repair feel inevitable when it absolutely is not. Your frame does not rust from the outside in. It rusts from the inside out. A modern frame rail is a boxed section, a long steel tube closed on all four sides, with holes drilled into it at the factory for drainage, for wiring, for the assembly line. It looks solid. From underneath, running a flashlight along it, it can look almost perfect while it is quietly eating itself alive. Because inside that sealed box, every time the temperature swings, warm garage to cold night, sunny afternoon to freezing evening, the air inside gives up its moisture as condensation. Little beads of water form on the inside walls of the... And in the salt belt, that water is not clean. Salt spray gets pulled in through those same factory holes, and now you have the exact recipe rust needs, sealed inside the one part of the vehicle you never inspect. Let me tell you what rust actually is, because the shop counts on you thinking of it as one thing, damage, when it is really a process, and a process can be interrupted. Rust is iron giving its electrons away to oxygen in the presence of water. That's it. Iron plus oxygen plus water becomes iron oxide, which is soft, which flakes, which takes up more space than the steel it replaced, so it lifts and cracks and exposes fresh metal underneath to do the whole thing again. Salt doesn't cause rust. Salt is an accelerant. Dissolved in that condensation, it turns the water into an electrolyte, a conductor, and that lets the electrons move faster, which means the reaction runs faster. That is why a frame in Arizona can outlive 3 frames in Michigan on the exact same truck. Same steel, same paint. Completely different electrolyte. So the whole game, the entire game, is keeping water and oxygen off the steel, especially on the inside surfaces you can't see. That is all rust prevention has ever been. Everything else is a delivery method. Now, here is where the man in Duluth, and probably you, went wrong with the best of intentions. Music. Every spring, that truck owner did the responsible thing. He took his truck to a shop and had it undercoated. The thick black rubberized coating sprayed over the underside, sealing it up, making it look armored and new. He paid for it. He felt good about it. And he was slowly killing his frame. I want to be very clear here because I am not telling you the shop lied to him. They didn't. Rubberized undercoating is a real product, and on a clean, dry, brand new frame, it can do real good. The man who sprayed it wasn't a con artist. He was doing exactly what he was trained to do, and the coating looked fantastic when it was done. But here is what that coating actually is. It is a hard shell. It sits on the surface. And a hard shell has one fatal weakness. It cracks. Road debris, stone chips, the flex of the frame over 10,000 bumps, the freeze and thaw. Eventually, the shell gets a crack. Water finds the crack. And now the water is under the coating, sitting directly against bare steel, and the coating that was supposed to protect the metal is instead holding the water there, sealing it in, hiding the rust from the flashlight, keeping it warm and wet and working. The armor became a terrarium. That is why the frame in Duluth looked fine from underneath right up until the day it folded. The rust wasn't on the outside where anyone could see it. It was underneath a beautiful black shell and inside a sealed steel box, in the 2 places nobody ever looks, doing the only thing rust does. So what did Roy Sundqvist do differently for 38 winters? He did the opposite. He did the thing they did in 1962, before the black shell became the standard answer. He didn't seal the frame. He didn't build a shell. He gave the steel something that water refuses to stick to, something that creeps into every seam and every hidden inside corner, something that never fully hardens and therefore can never crack. And when you scratch it, it flows back over the scratch and heals itself. He used grease. Specifically, he used wool grease. And I'll tell you exactly what it is, exactly how to make it sprayable for about $6, and exactly where to put it. But first, I have to tell you about 1962, because the year matters, and because it explains why your grandfather's trucks outlasted the ones we buy now. Music. If you have made it this far, you already see something most drivers never will. That the expensive problem and the cheap solution have been sitting in the same garage the whole time, and only one of them was ever put on the menu. Do me one favor before we get to the recipe. If you know somebody who drives an old truck through, send them this now, before the season turns. That's the whole reason I make these. Subscribe if you want the rest of the vault, because the next thing I'm going to walk you through is what really happens inside your brake lines in a salt state, and that one has a deadline. But stay right here, because the mixture I'm about to give you is the part Roy made me write down twice so I wouldn't get it wrong. Here is the history, and I'll give you the sourcing so you can check it yourself instead of taking my word. Before the early 1960s, rust-proofing a chassis was a maintenance task, not a factory checkbox. Fleets did it. Railroads did it. Farmers did it. The Navy did it to ship rigging and wire rope with wool grease, because a steel cable that rusts through at sea gets people killed. The knowledge was everywhere, and it was boring, and it worked. You reapplied a grease film every year, and the steel simply did not get to rust because water could not reach it. Then something shifted. Around 1962, as the industry moved hard toward annual model changes and the idea that a car was something you traded, not something you buried your grandfather in, the sprayed asphaltic undercoating became the standard. It was cheaper to apply on an assembly line. It looked protective on the showroom floor, which sold cars. And critically, it lasted just about long enough. Long enough to get the vehicle out of warranty. Long enough that when the frame finally rotted 8 or 10 years later, you were already shopping for the next one. Nobody wrote a memo saying let the frames rot. Nobody had to. The incentive just never once pointed at your truck lasting 30 years, and a thing that nobody is paid to prevent will happen. Roy watched it happen from the road commission garage. The plow trucks he maintained could not be disposable. They had to run every winter for decades on the worst salt exposure a vehicle can face. So the old hands never switched. They kept mixing wool grease thin enough to spray, and they kept fogging it up inside the frame rails every fall, and their trucks kept passing 150,000 to 200,000 miles of pure salt, while civilian frames the same age were folding in salvage yards. Roy learned it from a man named Leland Voss, who learned it in the 50s. Who is the reason I can stand here and hand it to you now? That is the chain of custody on this. It is not something I invented. It is something that was working the whole time and simply stopped being advertised. Now let me hand you the actual thing. Music. The material is lanolin, wool grease. It is the waxy oil that sheep produce to keep water off their own wool, and it has been protecting keratin and steel and human hands for as long as people have kept sheep. You can buy it as anhydrous lanolin, pure, no water added, in a tub, cheaply, from farm supply and craft suppliers, because people use it for everything from cracked hands to leather. A tub is a few dollars, and it will treat your frame more than once. That is where the $6 figure comes from. A portion of a tub of anhydrous lanolin, plus a splash of mineral spirits to thin it. That is the entire shopping list. Here is why it beats the black shell. In one sentence you can keep. It never hardens, so it never cracks, and it creeps by capillary action into the seams and the inside corners the shell can never reach. Lanolin is hydrophobic. Water will not wet it, will not stick to it, beads up and rolls off it. It creeps, meaning a film of it will wick along a seam and pull itself into a lap joint the way oil crawls up a wick. It self-heals because it stays soft. Scratch it with a stone and the film flows back together over the wound. And it clings. It does not drip off in a week like thin oil. It holds on the vertical inside wall of a frame rail through a whole season. Water off, oxygen off, for a fraction of the cost of the thing that traps water in. So here is the procedure. Follow the order, because the order is the part everybody gets wrong. First, timing. Do this in the fall, on a dry day. First, real freeze. You want a dry frame. If you can get it up in the air the day after a dry stretch, even better. Water already trapped in there is the one thing you do not want to seal a film over, so dry conditions matter. Second, preparation. And this is the good news. You do not need bare metal. This is not bodywork. You are not sanding to shine. You take a wire brush by hand or on a drill and you knock off the loose, flaking, crumbling rust, the stuff that's already lifting. Not the tight surface film, just the loose scale because you want the lanolin touching steel or tight rust, not sitting on a flake that's about to fall off and take your coating with it. 10 minutes with a brush on the worst spots is plenty. Third, the mixture. Anhydrous lanolin is thick, like cold honey. To make it sprayable, warm it. Set the tub in hot water or warm it gently, never over open flame, because you'll be adding a solvent. Then cut it with mineral spirits, roughly 1 part solvent to 1 part lanolin to start, until it's thin enough to move through a cheap sprayer. If you don't want to spray, You can brush a thicker mix straight into the seams. There is no exact ratio you have to hit. Thinner creeps further and dries to a lighter film. Thicker clings heavier on the outside. Both work. Fourth, and this is the whole secret, so hear me. You treat the inside of the frame first. The inside is where the rot starts, remember? So the inside is where the protection has to go. Get a cheap undercoating gun or a pump sprayer with a long wand and a 360-degree nozzle, the kind that fogs sideways in all directions, and feed it into the factory holes in the frame rails. Fog the inside until you see the mist weeping back out of the neighboring holes. That's how you know the film has crawled the length of the box section. That inside coat is the part the shop's black shell never even attempts, and it is the part that would have saved the truck in Duluth. Fifth, the outside. Now you coat everything you can see. The outside of the rails, the cross members, the seams where panels lap together, the brackets that hold your brake and fuel lines, the backs of the wheel wells where the tires throw salt. Seams and laps first, because that's where water hides. Let the solvent flash off. The film stays. And sixth, the only ongoing cost. You do it again next fall. That's it. Once a year, one afternoon, $6 of material. The film wears and the film renews, the same way Roy renewed it on plow trucks for 38 winters. Music. Now I owe you the honest part, because this channel does not work if I sell you a miracle, and this is not a miracle. It is chemistry, and chemistry has limits. This method prevents rust, and it dramatically slows light surface rust that has already started. It does not reverse rot that has already happened. I want to be crystal clear about that, because it's the exact place people fool themselves. If your frame already has holes in it, if a screwdriver sinks through it, if you can see daylight, if it flakes apart in layers like a croissant, lanolin will not bring that steel back. That steel is gone. No oil, no grease, no spray, no coating on earth turns iron oxide back into iron. If that's where you are, this is not your fix. And the responsible thing is to get that frame inspected by someone who will tell you honestly whether it's still safe to drive, because a compromised frame is a safety issue and I am not going to pretend otherwise. Where this method wins is before that point and at the edges of it. On a newer vehicle, it's the difference between a frame that lasts 15 years and one that lasts 40. On a vehicle with light surface rust, the orange dusting, the early stuff, tight scale, it stops the process where it stands and buys you years, sometimes a decade, that you were about to lose. That's the realistic promise. Not resurrection. Prevention and a hard stop on the early damage. Two more honest